take this chair. And Margie, hi. We see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
And we're going to adjust the sound just a little bit. Everybody, thanks for being a part of this panel. I'm not going to go through formal introductions because it's in your WOVA app and was on the screen and so forth, but really a fantastic panel we have here together. And we've been talking a lot, obviously, about some of the headwinds in clean energy right now. I think it's fair to say we've got a few headwinds out there. But I want to know what makes you hopeful, what makes you optimistic or hopefully optimistic, however you want to address it, about the kind of the state of clean energy today. And Tom, I know you've been talking a lot, so I'm going to give you the last break. I'll let you go last, and let's start with the other Thomas at Amazon.
I'm with Amazon's Climate Pledge Fund. It's a $2 billion venture fund. We focus on investing in companies that can help Amazon decarbonize. So it's a really cool mandate because we try to find companies for whom we can be the largest customer, which is quite valuable to entrepreneurs, even more so than the investment dollars. Maybe Rivian, investment in Rivian is perhaps the most well-known thing we've done. They manufacture all of the electric delivery vans for Amazon. I'm excited about a bunch of stuff. I'll stick with the theme of electric vehicle charging. I think today we have 25,000, 28,000 vans on the road roughly, which is maybe the largest or one of the largest electric fleets in the country. That should be 100,000 by 2030, potentially more, and that doesn't even include middle mile, which are the big trucks. And the way we're going about that is pretty cool, and maybe not every company is resourced like Amazon to take this approach. Not every company is as large, but we are seeking to solve basically all of the issues with EV charging. That includes interconnection, cleanliness, source carbon intensity of electricity, system architecture, CapEx, reliability, resilience, integration with DERs like solar and batteries. And that work is taking place, full steam ahead. There are a couple investments we've made that are relevant. I think one company that's really notable is a company called Mainspring Energy. They produce a linear generator. You could sort of think of it as a new type of gas engine. It's much cleaner, much more efficient. And I think the quality of the entrepreneurs behind that company is one of the things that I commented on earlier. It's one of the sources of confidence for me when you have stellar people who could do anything they want, choosing to commit 10 years of their life to an endeavor, challenging endeavor, commercializing a new engine. Beyond EV charging, we recently made an investment in a SMR nuclear company, X Energy. That's very exciting, not necessarily the quickest solution to deploy. We're working on battery recycling from our automotive fleet to produce low-cost battery storage systems. Yes, battery prices are falling a lot, but even as they do, it's often the most financially effective thing to do is take a waste product from one application, turn it into a revenue or value-generating product in another. So that company is Moment Energy. So I need to publicly speak about my investments so that my entrepreneurs are happy.
Hey, Margie, let's go to you if we could. We're sorry you're not here with us, but thanks for joining us online. What do you feel good about?
Thank you so much. This is probably the largest forum I've ever been in where I'm staring at myself on video. So thank you for adjusting and having me remote. I think one of the things that gives me hope is just looking back at the track record of success that we've had. So in the Pacific Northwest between 1978 and 2023, we have invested in enough energy efficiency to cover half of our total load growth. And through that investment, we've saved ratepayers over $5 billion. And we have avoided over 25 million metric tons of carbon dioxide. And as I look forward, the world is just getting more innovative and more exciting. And I think it's an opportunity to really double down on the successes that we've had to date.
Leif, Emily, Tom?
Yeah, I think there's lots to be excited about in innovation in the clean energy economy. When I started in clean energy 20 years ago, doing energy efficiency and renewable energy projects, The tools we had in our toolbox to make buildings energy efficient, make them run well, make the grid more clean, were kind of limited and they were expensive. The amount of people putting their brains into this industry was small. The amount of deployment was small. Fast forward 15 years and clean energy is clearly winning in the electricity sector. We are now learning how to win in the transportation sector, and we are learning how to win in heat, which are the three big places we spend our energy dollars and spend our energy resources. And that's happening because it's cheaper, it's faster, and it's better, which you heard from Tom. And so I look at that and I say, man, 15 years ago, the big tech company software developers weren't leaving their jobs to start tech companies in clean tech. They are now, Google and so on. Clean energy wasn't the cheapest. When we sold solar systems back in the 2000s, it was really expensive. LED lighting was really expensive. Now it's just the name of the game. So I think there's lots to be excited about. We've kind of gotten over the hump to where the industry is maturing and is clearly winning. So I don't think there's a lot that can stop us anymore. And that, I think, is like what gets me most excited.
Cool.
Bob, thank you for this opportunity to talk about the things that keep us optimistic in spite of the current wins.
We're all winners.
Echoing a lot of what the other panelists have said, I think there's, the people who work in this industry are resilient, they're creative, they're dedicated, and we're going to make this happen. In my role at the bank, I see deals, come in, I review deals all day, every day, and they're still coming in. There are people who've got projects that they want to finance, they want to keep it moving. To share a very specific example, I've seen a lot of deals lately around electric vehicles and fleet electrification and charging infrastructure. These are companies that are looking to, revolutionize their fleets, bring down their costs, and improve the air quality along the routes where they travel. And it's just really inspiring to see, people who are coming from all different walks of life, all different sectors, really committed to this same resilient future.
Yeah, we talk a lot about the US, but if you look at what's going on in the rest of the world, and if you worry about the climate, right, we actually don't really matter that much. The Chinese, who to some degree have the liberty to think much more strategic than in our political system, they made the decision that solar energy was the path forward. China built more solar last year than the United States in its entire history, and they're ramping up. They're still building coal plants, but they are ramping up as fast as they possibly can. The same is true in India. If you look at Pakistan, countries, they're all having a massive solar boom because they're burning fossil fuels that are a lot more expensive than the fossil fuels we have here. We're one of the few countries where actually fossil fuels are still cheap, right? If you look at LNG, the cost of LNG, it's 3 to 4 times as high as our natural gas here in the US. So solar is winning everywhere on the planet, and it's accelerating because it is better, faster, and cheaper. Battery prices have come down dramatically. I hate to say it, but it's because the EV industry kind of slowed down. That made a glut in battery manufacturing. So we benefit from that. But we're buying batteries today 60% cheaper than just 2 years ago. 60% in 2 years. It's incredible. So at a global scale, this is happening, and you won't stop this anymore. So is it fast enough? I don't know. But it's really happening now everywhere in the world.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time before I do what I do as a journalist, and a lot of that was about 20 years as a technology reporter and editor. And really, the technology has caught up to your point. The technology has caught up to the problem of energy generation, and the result has been the decline in prices and the deployment that we've seen, which is fantastic. And we're just getting started. Tom, you talked earlier about some of the great innovative things that you're doing and your companies are doing. I'd like to hear from others. What you got cooking that's so exciting now and interesting? And Leif, I know you've got an interesting project in Cleveland, that hub of innovation and forward-thinking technology.
Yeah, imagine Cleveland, Ohio in your minds, and you're probably going to think, that it's a little off the beaten path for clean energy. It is an industrial manufacturing powerhouse still. When I went to visit there the first time, I couldn't believe how much innovation is there and how much they're powering America with all the little things we need for our society. that's not only there that they're being innovative, they're really focused on clean energy. They're really focused on doing the right thing. They're also really focused on resiliency because these manufacturing plants need to run. So the county decided to do something that's never happened in the United States. They set up a new electric utility with the sole purpose of doing microgrids. And the reason they did that was for climate and jobs, the two sole reasons. They went out and hired us as a co-development partner to bring the expertise in the market on developing and implementing microgrids. A microgrid is effectively a separate grid from the existing grid we're also used to that allows a business, a home to run their power systems when the main grid goes down. Like that's the main part of a microgrid. They can also just stand alone and not even be connected to the grid. This is in Cleveland, so obviously these people are all connected to the grid. And we're helping an industrial park become more resilient so they can continue to build the parts our US Navy needs, continue to build the parts that go into our factories, continue to build the welding equipment that we use to weld things, and do that cheaper and also meet their climate sustainability goals, which their current utility is not giving them. So the utility that was set up on the county does a few things that are super amazing. It gives that community hope that those businesses are going to stay and thrive, and it helps them reduce their carbon pollution. Super fascinating, and again, done in a place that isn't considered to be like the innovation hub for clean energy.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Fantastic. Great stuff. Great stuff. And we have to have this stuff, right? We've got to meet demand. The slide I showed earlier today, electricity demand expected to increase by almost 50% by some measures by 2040. And Margie, I'd love to go to you here in the Northwest specifically. I think your organization came out with a report recently that said the power demand just in this area is going to, I think, double in the next 10 years or so. Maybe you can talk about that. And I'd love to hear from you all. How are we going to meet this demand?
Yeah. So the Northwest Power Planning Council, for those of you who are not familiar, is an interstate compact that was created by Congress in the early 90s in response to an energy crisis here in the Pacific Northwest. So we incorporate the states of Montana, Idaho, Washington, and Oregon, and don't serve every customer in those jurisdictions, but serve a huge percentage of customers across the region. So every 5 years, we put together a 20-year energy plan that looks at what we see as the potential for load growth across the region, both traditional load growth and also what we might need in terms of peaking. And then we develop strategies through investments in energy efficiency and conservation, renewable energy technologies, demand response, and potentially thermal generation to meet that load growth. So on the high end of the forecast that we're looking at, that it would be 2026 through 2046, we are looking at both energy and peak loads potentially doubling over the next 20 years. A lot of the drivers that we're seeing are coming from electrification of the building sector, commercial building sector, residential building sector, and also large, high-tech, large single load end users, as well as and electric vehicles. And then even on the lower end, we're still seeing loads potentially increasing by around 2% annually. So I think this presents a challenge given the makeup of the transmission system that we have across the region, 13 balancing authorities. But this also represents a huge opportunity for innovation, for re-looking at systems, and for meeting the challenges of today with the answers of tomorrow.
That's a fantastic point. This is pulling innovation out, and it's forcing companies, I think, to come up with new ideas to meet this demand, which is impactful.
Absolutely.
We were fortunate enough a few of us to have dinner with Tom and some others the other night, and Tom posed a very interesting question to us. We went around the table and he said, "So what has the Trump administration done right for clean energy?" I think that was the question, or maybe it should be, how has the clean energy industry benefited from the Trump administration? I'd like to hear your answers, and correct me if I got that wrong.
Yeah, I think of it more as unintended consequences.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm
There it is.
I don't think there's a plan, but there are, the example I gave earlier, think about it. The cost of a barrel of oil has gone from $46, the cost to produce it, right, in Texas, in Midlands, has gone from $46 to $62. That's a 35% increase. The price of a barrel of oil today is 66. So they're basically breaking even. They made more money under Biden than they did under Trump. Think about that. That puts a smile on my face. Kind of be careful what you wish for, So, and a lot of it is because the cost of steel has gone up, right? The cost of a gas turbine today is twice what it was 2 years ago. The cost of natural gas to power most of US power generation on the grid has gone from about $2 to $2.50. It's been in that range under Biden for the last years, to about $3.50. That's a 50% increase. And the forecast, if you look at the futures, so that's what I'm more meant by unintended consequences. I don't think there was a plan there to kind of drive profitability of the oil and gas guys down. But like I said, puts a smile on my face, because that's our real competition, right? We are now grown-ups. We need to start thinking about competing and running faster. And our competition is gas in the US. It's, coal in lots of parts of the world, et cetera. So that's our competition. That's where we need to win. And it looks pretty good.
Others? What do you like about what the Trump administration has done for clean energy?
Well, I would just say, Bob, I was really struck by the image that you had up on screen in your presentation earlier around where are these investments going? And it's really, I think we're taking a really hard look at what are the communities that are benefiting from this economic development, the job creation, also the improved air quality where all of these clean energy projects are going. So I think that's been a really good part of the conversation. I would also add, and kind of tying in with the previous question around innovation, I think we're seeing a lot more people think, on the financing side, think very critically about the role that they can play. We're seeing new financiers come to the table. Green banks are being created in states across the country. We're seeing community development finance institutions adopt climate lending practices. We're also seeing companies and other actors like state agencies think about what are the levers that they hold for system change and how they can be part of solutions. So I think that's been a really interesting, outgrowth of some of the more recent headwinds, and we're really positioned to continue to finance this industry and move forward with this economic development.
Can we really expect the private and semi-public sector to make up for the funding losses, though, that we've seen from the federal government into clean energy?
So Compass Energy is a developer. Our job is to make projects work in pencil because our investors and our clients that want the power rely on that. Yeah. It's going to be challenging in markets like Cleveland and Ohio and Idaho where power prices are really low. But guess what? Power prices are going up. They just went up 20% in Ohio. Idaho Power, which has done a great job of keeping our prices low, is having prices go up as well. So I think what's going to happen is it's going to force the market and the industry to continue to innovate on business model and economics and capital stacking to be competitive. It's going to force businesses to get more clear on what benefits they want from these power systems that we can deliver that drive additional value beyond the electron. And so I believe it's going to be a combination of the private markets and the natural price increases of a strained grid. And it's going to force the businesses to be basically more self-sufficient. So if there are ever incentives in the future, it's going to be just nitrous and an engine that's already running more efficiently and running better. So I think of this as a nice forcing function to get the industry that we're in to hone our skill set a little bit more, get a little bit better at what we do, and ultimately build a sustainable grown-up business. Again, 95% of projects in the interconnection queue are clean. Like if we're going to build, this is going to be it. So the reality is it's going to force us to be better, which is going to have a really nice outcome for the communities we serve of having even lower price power than they might have if we hadn't had this forcing function. So I look at it as a positive thing in the long term. Short term, it's going to be a little bit painful, but we'll get through it as an industry we always have.
Bob, a couple points here. I think, to your point about rising energy prices, earlier this week, I live in Washington, D.C. Some of our colleagues here from New York were getting text messages from their utility about brownouts. We're already in a place where the grid is very strained. And so I think there'll be really interesting conversations around utilities and the role that they play. Prices are going up, but our access to power might be going down. So how do we balance that? The other piece that I wanted to add, just from the perspective of a lender who has looked really closely at how we can leverage the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, which is a program that was referenced in a previous conversation. It was authorized by the Inflation Reduction Act. Amalgamated Bank has, between term sheets and RFP responses, we have looked to leverage $250 million from the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund that would bring $500 million of bank debt to the table. And that's not even including all of the other private capital that would come in and other sources, primarily equity, but there's other opportunities as well. So there's a huge opportunity for us to leverage this federal investment to really just amplify the impact of the private capital in the space. And so I'm hoping that cooler heads prevail and that we can really see this as an economic development opportunity for our country.
Margie, you want to add anything?
I love the conversation. And the thing that I'm witnessing from the seat that I hold is just the shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. The energy system as we know it is completely tapped out. And whether we're talking about investments, the cost effectiveness of investing in the transmission system versus demand response versus looking at new ways that we can add to and build a more resilient system into the future, I think it opens up the opportunity for rethinking how we have provided customers electricity. We're moving from this, let's build a plant that serves hundreds of customers, to what we're looking at in the council is like looking at the shape of electric vehicles and onboarding a massive amount of electric vehicles and matching that to the right energy shape so we can meet that peak demand. And I think it opens up an opportunity for innovative ways of just relooking at that system. So I love the conversation. I think I'm really excited about the future because we're being forced into growth mindset and innovation across all technologies. There's not a single way that we can meet the type of demand that we're looking at into the future. It's going to be an all hands on deck, all of the above. And I think early investments in this industry have well positioned it to meet this particular moment in time.
Fantastic. All right, so we got pretty deep here. Let's get shallow with the remaining few minutes that we have left. What's the funnest, coolest thing about this conference to you guys? What's your big takeaway here? In very short answers, please. And I'll start, and I'll keep it quick. It's just the optimism that I'm hearing from you all, that I'm seeing from you all. I spend a lot of time in Washington. My head's deep in policy a lot of times, and man, it's refreshing to hear all that's going on. So thank you all for that. And
so I live here, so it's just beautiful seeing the talent, the mindset, the passion of people coming here to make this all happen. And I think what comes out of this conference that you don't get at a lot of other ones is the different perspectives from people that are leading their industries in some form or fashion. Their industries, their organizations, their work is best in class, and it's all over the place. So I've learned about so many different things in this week that I normally wouldn't even get a chance to think about. And man, that's cool.
yeah.
It's very similar for me. I think in my role, it's very easy for me to get kind of myopically focused on what are the transactions that are coming in the door, and they tend to be really infrastructure based. But here at the Sun Valley Forum, I'm reminded of all the different sustainability solutions that we are developing. We are creative, we're committed, and it's just nice to be bolstered. And wow, that mountaintop dinner last night really took
Wasn't
my
that
breath away.
awesome?
Change in perspective, both in terms of height and also just reflecting on all that we have to protect.
Literally and figuratively.
Yes,
change
that's right.
perspective.
I think all of the above. For me, it's connecting with nature. It's a wonderful thing to be out there, going river rafting this afternoon, and it's it's so worth the fight.
Amen.
Yeah, I would say a couple words: optimism, breadth, and also, I guess I'll say vibes. But I think it is connected to the idea of being in a beautiful place and remembering the purpose and what we're all trying to work towards, even though at times it can feel like a Sisyphusian uphill battle. It's worth protecting.
Margie, I know you haven't been able to experience all of the fantastic stuff that we have this week, but I know you've been
I'm
involved with this
picturing the
before.
river trip. That's what I want to be on this afternoon.
It's beautiful.
I love personally the community. This industry, there's a lot of people in the industry, and there's a lot of the same folks that have been on the front lines of pushing for the kind of innovation that we're seeing for a really long time. And so it's always wonderful to have an opportunity to connect with old friends. And I feel like, when I'm the 20 years that I've spent working in the clean energy industry and in public service, it can sometimes feel really lonely. And so it's just a nice reminder to know that there are so many people out there in the world that care so deeply and spend every moment, every waking moment of every day figuring out how we can live our way into a much healthier future.
Fantastic. And I am grateful to all of you all for joining me up here and being the passionate, innovative, driven people that you are to make this world a better place. And Amy, thank you for making all of this happen. And thanks everybody for being here and listening to us for a little bit. All right?
Thank you.
Yeah.